Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah, Allah. I take it we are live. I'm just going to share this out. Right. Just click on this. Right, what is this doing? No, that's not what I was trying to do. Right, 1 second in the... Okay. Just clicking. Just sharing this out to... Is that done? Yep, that's done. Okay, just sharing that to the Discord as well. Bismillah, innal hamdalillah wa kafah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulih al-Mustafa, wa ala ibadi alladhina irtada, wa man bihudahum ihtada, wa bi athari ahli al-Madinah iqtafa. وما بعد فسلام الله عليكم أهلا وسهلا بكم ومرحبا يا جماعة بسم الله. Right, so who do we have tuning in? You can share the stream, share the love, people. Allah bless you all. Bismillah. Right. There we go. Allah, Allah. I thought it had been a while that we need to reconvene this rendezvous. Give some of you an opportunity to share your thoughts on that which is preoccupying your precious minds. Allah. I'll wait for some people to tune in. Right. You know, I was watching this brief clip by Pir Nasiruddin Nasir, great legend from the Indo-Pak world. So he's mentioning in it that when a person is happy, joyous, just full of wins, if you like, he feels the whole world is winning. He feels everybody is happy. He says similarly that when a person is downtrodden, they are sad, they're depressed, they're losing. In many ways, they feel the whole world is losing. He says that Jaan Parpari, that he's the first line to it, he had... Damn, it slipped my mind. He has this line that explains that the moment it afflicted us, we felt that the whole Jahan was the same. But it reminded me of that, when we were kids, we would hear that smile and the whole world smiles right back at you. That this is so, it is a law of this universe that Allah has encoded into being with a capital B. Ya Salah. You see, that if I want us to think about that this world is most certainly a simulation that Allah has created. And if that be the case, where is the control panel for this configuration, for this dunya? Where is it? That where Allah says, "I'lamu annama al-hayat ad-dunya la'ib." Know that the life of this world is a game. What does that mean? Because it's interesting, because the Arabs didn't often use them, like today, how we have this idiom that, oh, life is like a game. The Arabs didn't use that idiom much back then. They didn't have that phrase that is commonplace today, that the life of this world is but a game. But this wasn't something that was used back then by the Arabs. So what might have been more, common use or more relatable is to say something like life is like a battle. Imagine Allah says, "I'lamu annama al-hayat ad-dunya ma'arika." It is a battle. Or annama al-hayat ad-dunya safrun. It is a journey. Or annama al-hayat ad-dunya something else. It's like, but la'ib, that the life of this world is but a game. You see, to me, that cuts much deeper than just the metaphor of a game. What we are talking about is the simulation nature of this world, and the control paths thereby lie within our mind. Consciousness. See, our minds can control reality. Now, you may think, well, that doesn't make any sense, because, I can't just will myself into something totally. Sure, it doesn't necessarily work in that particular way that you can change everything. A bit like a game on the screen. You can't, if it's I don't know, I don't really play many computer games. Let's say you're playing I don't know, like a war game. You can't suddenly change it into a car racing game. But that's not the point. The point is that many things are much more malleable than you imagine. There was this line of poetry that I heard recently. The person said, "Ye tumhari hi kahani hai, ho sake to kamal likhna." Allah, ye tumhari hi kahani hai, ho sake to kamal likhna. That this story ultimately is your very own. That if it may be, write it with excellence. Allah. That, yeah. And this verse of the Quran, let's see, somebody दास्तान hayat likhe ghairon ne. Chalo, peruse this. What's the second line to that? Mufti, I'll have the steak medium rare. See, even medium rare I don't have. It must be rare. You see, I like my steak rare. Allah. See, maza hai kya if it doesn't, it must be. You see, people who have, okay, medium rare is the most a person could go. Anything above that, and anybody who goes to, to kind of well done, that toba toba, that's just gustachi and blasphemy and a waste of a steak. But you guys are distracting me. So right. As I was saying, that you see, the control panel for this world is in our mind. And when you think about it. The verse of the Quran, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, that you do not will for something. You see, many people have understood this verse through another lens, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with understanding it through that. That وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, that you do not will except for what God has willed, meaning that God is ultimately in control. Nobody's, denying that understanding. It is beautiful. It is absolutely on point. However, the majestic nature of the Quran is that it reveals simultaneously, through a superpositionality, many meanings that dawn on you in your everyday lives, that make the Quran more meaningful. So that is an understanding that most people have taken from this verse. But this verse actually can mean that وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ, that you do not will for something, you don't wish for it, إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, except that Allah, the Lord of the worlds, wills it into being. Allah. That you don't will something except Allah wills it into being. Yeah. Right. So NPCs. Yeah, it does beg a question. Are there certain NPCs in this world? I think they could be. They could be. But I guess we'd never really know. And Khair. But that is a beautiful point. कि ये तुम्हारी ही कहानी है, हो सके तो कमाल लिखना. That if it may be, write it high with excellence. Yeah. One way to get to the source code for this dunya is the Barzakh. It is that boundary. It is that the Barzakh means that boundary, the barrier between this world and the world of pure spirit, maybe, or the divine domain, that you have this barrier realm, which suggests maybe not a 3D like structure. I don't know. It kind of suggests that. I don't know if that's how it is, but that it's more like a barrier. And we are all in that as we are here, just as the characters in a game are in the console as they are on the screen. But in the console, they're not, they don't look like the characters on the screen, but they are more so in the console than they are on the screen. And what's happening in there dictates, or what is coded in there dictates the potentialities that appear on the screen. So, and such is the life of this dunya. And that what we're connected to always is the Barzakh. And that's where we, one pathway to access it is when we switch off the conscious mind. See, the conscious mind is what keeps us active in this simulation, in this dunya, the conscious mind. The unconscious mind is always seeping through, always. In fact, perhaps 99% of our decision making is influenced by the unconscious mind, but we just don't know that. We think, we post hoc rationalize it. So we think that this is because we are we might rationalize it. Oh, it's because of this reason, that reason. But most of these reasons are subconscious to us. They're coming from the Barzakh, pouring through. Now, we don't fully understand that, but we just know that we just know that we're choosing this, choosing that. What's blocking it is the conscious mind. And the conscious vision, if you think about it, they say it's almost just like your thumbnails, if you kind of put it out, that's what you are. I mean, that's not consciousness, but that's the conscious vision field that you are, and you're just kind of filling in everything else. Now, so how do we access the unconscious mind? Well, one way is through sleep. When we sleep, the conscious mind is switched off, and therefore we have that's one pathway by which we access a very habitual, accustomed pathway by which we access the Barzakh. We dream, we see things, and the world of the Barzakh behaves differently. It has a different language, symbols. Just as the console panel has a different language to what you're seeing on the screen. If you open up the console, you don't see little characters in there. It's all a kind of coding. I'm not saying that's how the Barzakh is, but we don't know how that is. But we know it's not like this world. This world is almost just a manifestation, as Ibn Arabi says, a majla wa madhar. It is a manifestation, a hologram, if you like, of that world, the Barzakh before us. Now, that's one way. Another way could be daydreaming. Imagination is another way we access the Barzakh. Psychedelics is another way. And a very kind of almost to burst open a pathway, a gateway, a portal into the Barzakh. And it gives, it's because it's not a pathway we as humans are very used to. Therefore, the experience by something like psychedelics is immensely powerful. And it is, very, very raw and just unfiltered in a way that we're not as used to. Like, we're used to the pathway of sleep. We're used to the pathway of daydreaming. We're used to the pathway of imagination. But we as humans are not used to. These are like almost, one could say, cheat codes that are hidden in the game, in the simulation, that allow you to access the source, allow you to access the Barzakh. And these portals, because they're not ones so habitualized or that we're so used to, they have an incredibly intense, unfiltered and raw experience about them. Once again, many of which will require some decoding, some interpreting, some integration into our understanding, because we don't always understand. It's like when you see a dream, you don't always understand what the dream is communicating, because we are used to communication in this world with certain modes. Now, those are not always the modes, the modus operandi of that world. Just as dreams, they're part of that world. We don't think of it a bit like how somebody with autism doesn't fully understand nonverbal cues. Yet to you and me and many people, nonverbal cues are intuitive. The way a person looks when he says something, just the look of the eye, the smile, whether it's a smirk, whether it's a grin, whether it's, body language, sarcasm. we can tell these things intuitively, without any effort. You can tell these things. But if a person, for example, had autism, these social cues are very difficult for them to read. They can't read them. They might train themselves to read them, but they don't come to them intuitively like they will to non-autistic people, that they just come intuitively to us. So similarly, we as people are on a kind of autism spectrum with regards to the Barzakh. That the way the Barzakh communicates is in symbols, in experiences, in apprehensions. You apprehend a meaning. Now, what you are seeing may not mean in a normal sense that, you, like a person may apprehend. It's like a few years ago I read this book. It was on grief. It's actually quite a powerful book. What's it called? I've got it right. So it was. Let me see if I have it here somewhere. Just gonna see, because it might just, sometimes those things just bug us. Then, let's see. Was it on my? Did I have it on this Kindle as well? I did buy the hard copy, but is it called the year of something? The year of. It was on grief. Let's see, grief. The year of magical thinking. Now, there was a paragraph in that where the author, she mentions that she was, I think, walking in some park and the sunlight was at a certain, at a certain angle, and there was a glow. And she said, and she has this apprehension that it meant death. Now, that was very interesting, because when I read that, she kind of, not the experience, but the overall, the way she's describing the apprehension of certain meanings, it gave words to something which I never had words for before. So I knew exactly what she's saying, but I did not have the words for it in that way, or I'd not articulated it or heard it being articulated. So, and when I read it, I knew exactly what she was talking about. Not necessarily the death part, but the fact that certain things at certain times give a meaning, even though that meaning has nothing to do with the thing you're looking at. So that world communicates in that way. And psychedelics can, they can just, I guess, rocket boost a person into the depths of that understanding. Yeah. This reminds me, what I'll do is I'm going to share the link for if people want to join the live stream. But before that, it just reminded me, I'll share my experience. A few people had asked, a very powerful experience that I'd had personally. Or tying in with that, you can see somebody asked, view on Dr. Suleiman Misbahi Sahab. Hi. Allah bless him. Ameen. He says that दिल तो क्या चीज है हम रूहों में उतरे होते तुमने चाहा ही नहीं चाहने वालों की तरह. Hi, Allah. You know, Dr. Suleiman Misbahi Saab, he is a gem of our times. Allah. He is one, this a man who, to me, I feel a man of God who, I guess he'll never know what he's done to help me personally with my faith. Just what a beautiful, blessed human being. A privilege to have his words, his thoughts. He's on YouTube and he just speaks from the heart. Allahu Akbar. I listen to his things often. He's one of the only people I listen to in Urdu. I don't really listen to many Urdu speeches. I listen to poetry a lot, but I'm not really interested. I'm not so drawn to many Maulanas and things like that in Urdu. I mean, maybe if there's something very interesting. Actually, let me correct that. I do listen to Ghamdi Saab. Whenever it comes up, something interesting, I'll listen to Ghamdi Saab. I do listen to some Urdu podcasts whenever something interesting comes up. I do listen to, just correcting that, there's a very amazing, who I absolutely love as well. He has a similar name to Ghamdi Saab, but it's inverted. So you have, so Ghamdi Saab is called Javed Ahmed Ghamdi Saab, and his name is Ahmed Javed. So it's the other way. He's just another amazing soul. He has this white hat, white long beard. He's a professor of poetry and Urdu literature, and just a person who fathoms mysticism and philosophy. I do love listening to him. He now, by the grace of Allah, is appearing on many more podcasts. So I do listen to him. And then maybe maybe there's some small snippets of an Urdu brief lectures might come up on social media. I might sometimes listen to them, but I don't generally listen to many just other speeches, and just don't, I guess. Except the only person I seek out, I will go to YouTube and seek out his lectures to listen to, are Dr. Suleiman Misbahi Saab. It's the only, in Urdu, that is, like, to seek out specifically an Urdu. Allah has gifted him. Allah bless him. He has come to the UK, and I really did want to meet him, but I felt, you see, the problem is that there's too much politics at play, and too many people, try to power grab, and then I don't know, I let it be. I didn't want to even entertain or participate in the theatricality of these sectarian politics. I thought, khair, it doesn't matter. I mean, but this man, to me, Allah bless him, is a legend. This is why I didn't really appreciate Mirza Engineer gunning for him when he was trying to. And there were 1-2 people that I know that are in contact with Misbahi Saab. So at the time, I did message them to say that, if this message can reach Misbahi Saab, this is Dr. Suleiman Misbahi Saab. It was that, please don't allow these haters or Mirza Engineer to derail you from your positive outlook. And just, because the thing about him is his smile and his care and love that shines through. So, because I noticed on 1-2 lectures, he'd started then addressing this hate, and then negativity brings negativity, you see. So, alhamdulillah, and yeah, so I think he did just keep to his own mission, alhamdulillah. And this is why I didn't understand Mirza Engineer. He was gunning for him in this way that, oh, he's engaged in folklore, and he makes up these stories, or he narrates these fabricated stories. You see, what you don't understand is there is a divine experience that is being had by people. Now, people that are listening to this, there is at a certain realm a religious experience taking place. Now, I understand it may not be everybody's cup of tea, or some people may say, some of these stories are not authentic, but and what? Like, he's not claiming, like, these stories that he's telling, they're just about people. They're not something about the Quran. It's nothing, and then this sense of authenticity that Mirza Engineer was doubling down on and using as he himself can't answer these questions. He can't answer the Bukhari Gate question. He can't answer the question of the kind of the gaps in the Asanid project. He can't answer these things. Nobody can. They're unanswerable. So if it's that thing that allow me one miracle and I'll explain the rest. It's like, well, Gödel's incompleteness theorem, that sure, if it's okay for you in one thing, then let other people be. They are serving some greatness out there. Khair. But yeah, dil kya cheez hai, hum ruhon mein utre hote. What is the heart? This is Allah speaking. That what is the heart? We would have revealed ourselves into your soul. हम तो रूहों में उतरे होते, तूने चाहा ही नहीं चाहने वालों. That if only you'd wanted or loved the way one ought to have loved. Hi, Allah. Yeah, a few people had asked me, sure, it will be an absolute pleasure to visit Kazakhstan. My experience, you see, a few years ago, I will highlight that, look, I am an advocate of psychedelics. Everybody knows that. But like anything, there are ways, methods, pathways, rules to everything. And like everything, not everything is for everybody. I understand that. If a person has weak bones or something's wrong and they go and start working out in the gym, they might hurt themselves. Just as a normal person could go into a gym and not do it properly and thereby hurt himself, dislocate a shoulder, fracture something, pull your back, or worse still. Everything has rules to it. It doesn't make it, to me, these things are not haram. But that doesn't, even the caution argument doesn't make it haram. You could injure yourself dangerously in a gym. And I'm sure several people throughout their lifetimes have injured themselves dangerously in a gym. Obviously, the vast majority of people have not. But I'm sure if you started reading documented accidents that have taken place in the gym, that does not make the gym haram. Many people have had very dangerous car accidents. That does not make the roads or cars or vehicles haram. So now, obviously, there are rules when you're in a vehicle. There are rules when you're on the road. There is a way. There is an etiquette to going about something, that you always do this with trained individuals. Like anything, you don't just, if you don't know how to swim, you don't just go and jump into a deep end unsupervised. Like anything. So that's not, but that doesn't make swimming haram now all of a sudden. So like anything, and this is, this is common sense, goes without. So we don't. These are things we don't really need to even say, because everybody should know that, like anything that is profound in life, you would need some rules, some oversight, some supervision, some guidance on how to do it. Even medicine, you would need guidance on how to take medicine. If somebody just put a whole load of pills there and didn't tell you how many to take or how to take them or when to take them, you could do some harm. But on the same token, those pills could potentially save you or incredibly enhance your well-being if done rightly and under supervision. So, or with some guidance. So this is common sense. And the fact that this caveat even needs to be expressed just, goes to show sometimes the very shallow level of thought that we're in. So now we are entering a stage where psychedelics, is the benefits of it is being caught on so massively by society at large. In my understanding, within 10 to 15 years, everybody will consider psychedelics not only halal, they will be encouraging them. It's just people are behind. People are victims of propaganda. They're victims to Nixon's propaganda on drugs, and they still remain victims to that. It's a shame. And if you tell them, they refuse to, they're so brainwashed and institutionally brainwashed, and including people, they could be doctors, they could be all that. They are so institutionalized that thinking out of the box is so difficult for them. Now they are showing that things like psilocybin in what is magic mushrooms increases cellular lifespan by over 50%. That's the research coming out very recently now, the studies. It won't be long before Big Pharma capitalizes on all of this. But khair, these things, before Big Pharma has caught on to them, these are things which are already known. Now, as to the topic of haram and halal, those who believe this is haram, that's fine. I'm not, this isn't for you. You can believe it's haram. Okay, this is not to address you, but you do not have a right to impose your way on other people. That is for you. Just as when you take what meat is halal, there is a difference from the Malikiya school of Medina, which consider no animal except pig to be haram. They might consider them makruh, but not haram. Right down to the Hanafi Madhab, which consider most animals to be haram, except just poultry and docile creatures. So this in between, all of this spectrum of wild animals and all of these things, there is a difference of opinion, massive difference of opinion. Now, to some people, all of these things are haram. To the Hanafiya, all predatory animals are haram. Now, like including that in the sea, a shark is haram, according to the Hanafi Madhab. Now, according to the Maliki Madhab, every sea creature and every bird is halal. And every land animal is not haram. And I say not haram as opposed to halal because some might be discouraged, but not haram. So they might be makruh, but not haram. And except pig. So pig is the only animal that is haram, clearly in a very dominant view of the Maliki Madhab. Now there are some differences in the Maliki Madhab, but and I have a very detailed video explaining this. You can just search it, my name and meat in Islam, on YouTube. It's something like a 45-minute breakdown showing all the references. And I show the Hanbali Madhab and the Shafi'i Madhab. And so you could take something like, is hyena haram? Now, obviously in the Hanafi Madhab it's haram. In the Maliki Madhab it's not. In the Shafi'i Madhab, other wild animals are haram, but hyena is halal. Now, somebody could be eating hyena. Now, is that, I'm not saying you would eat that, but somebody could be, some of the companions did used to hunt hyena in the hadith. So this is why the Shafi'iyah say it's okay, because it's in the hadith that they're hunting it. So now what would you now, if you believe, let's say you're a Hanafi Maulana, you believe hyena is haram, but that's for you to practice. It's not for you to impose it on other people. To say, it's your deen, fa'budullah mukhlisina lahuddin. This is your understanding. If other people disagree, they have a different interpretation, it's not for you. Now, you might say, well, hyena has a hadith. What about the Maliki method? There isn't a hadith for every single wild animal. In fact, there is a hadith that every, predatory animal is forbidden. There is a hadith. Malik transmits it in the Muwatta himself. But yet, Imam Malik's madhab is against it. So, and it transmits that every bird of prey is haram or forbidden, is the word used in the hadith. It's by Abu Huraira. Imam Malik transmits this hadith, yet his madhab and his teaching to Ibn al-Qasim is it's not haram. Because that's what the people of Medina were upon, that it's not haram. Now, you might have this hadith and you might say, well, I believe this is haram. I believe, any birds of prey are haram. That's fine. You don't need to eat them. But it's not for you to go around imposing on other people. So the Maliki madhab, for example, disagrees with you. Now, it's not for you to say we are correct and they are. You can say what you want, but you can't impose. Lasta alayhim bimusaytir. You are not one that imposes on other people. This is the Quran speaking to the Prophet ﷺ and us by extension. Now, so with psychedelics, it's the same thing. That if you believe it's haram, then that's fine. That's for you. Other people who don't believe it's haram, it's not for you to impose on them. You just impose on yourself. That's fine. Now, yeah, so with these things, the last several years of my life, I would say in many ways have felt maybe 3-4 times the amount of years that have lapsed. So to me, it's felt like maybe the last 5 years, 6 years have felt something like 15 to 20 years have passed for me. And a lot has happened in that, and many difficulties, many challenges, and just life, in all its shades and colors. And I would say unquestionably that has played a role in me changing. That I am unquestionably a very different person. In many ways, obviously, I'm still similar in some things, but then I was maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I feel that, and there's been many things in that have played a role, including, the challenges, grief, witnessing my mother's cancer, witnessing her passing away. Psychedelics has been one of those factors as well. That it is an experience that, what does a person do with that then? I experienced during those rough periods what is called 5-MeO DMT, which is, some people call it the God particle. It is perhaps arguably the most powerful psychedelic on earth. And they excrete it from the Sonoran toad. So it comes, and sometimes it is found in some plants as well in nature, but it's generally extracted from the toad's venom. And it is then, there's a process where they kind of dry it, and then they turn it into a kind of solid crystal format. Now this, it's known as 5-MeO, or they call it bufo, or sometimes they just refer to it. Mike Tyson, for example, often speaks about it as just the toad. They call it because it comes from the toad. In this experience, almost everybody, maybe some people are exempt, but almost everybody will experience what they believe to be death. That you come face to face with it. And it's so weird because, before, when I took it, and this was with trained individuals, they're like shamans, they're trained in this practice and they know what they're doing. And they guide you what will happen and how to breathing exercises and all of these things. They remind you, and interestingly enough, the intention plays a powerful role. So what do you want from this? That to understand God, reality, and consciousness. That was my intention. Now, they say that it kicks in within 3 heartbeats. That's how fast it is. And it is fast. And it's so, when it begins, and this is something I would never advise for anyone to be their first experience into the world of psychedelics. And I wouldn't advise anybody to do psychedelics without a trained, like a trained overseer or supervisor that guides, or a trained guide that takes them through it. Never, ever should anybody ever do anything on their own, ever. It is just too powerful, too dangerous like that. And within, they say 3 heartbeats, it kicks in and you feel your body evaporate. And at that moment, you just fall back into what looks like you're just asleep. Looks like you're peacefully asleep, just. But yeah, Allah. In those first few moments, oh my God. I remember clearly the panic that I'm dying. And I felt I couldn't breathe. And I felt that my breath couldn't come beneath my, my throat, that it just couldn't come down, like I couldn't. And I remember thinking to myself that if I could just swallow my spit, maybe I could clear my throat and I might be able to breathe. And just as I was about to do it, I remembered the guide telling us before that, look, if you can, don't fight it. So in that moment, I thought that it's okay. Just die. Like, let it be. Don't fight it. That don't try to swallow you, just let it be. And what's weird is, in that moment, I came face to face with a vision which I recognized from before. Like when I looked at it, I knew it. And it was death. I don't know how I knew, but I didn't just know it, I recognized it. It's like one, you know something, but one, you somehow recognize what you see. And I could recognize that, this is death. I recognize it. And then within just moments, I went through it. And the moment I went through it, Ya Salah, you are no longer this ego, this you, but you're kind of like a consciousness you. You're still there. You're like ruh, but not this body anymore. You're out of this simulation. You kind of expand into everything. That somehow you are you, but somehow you are connected with everything. The entire cosmos, you're connected. But you're oddly still aware. And the feeling that there is a term, ineffable, that you cannot describe, put words to the feeling, but an incredibly positive feeling, so peaceful and blissful. There isn't a narrative anymore. There isn't this kind of picture of you anymore like that. And time has disappeared. There is no time. And this part of it went on. And then I appear. There's this part where I then appear, but it's not me, like this me, but it's me. And I appear in the presence of God. There is this powerful light. And I know it to be in the presence of God. And it's so blissful. And I, in that moment, realized that there is no such thing as worry. That there is no such thing as fear. And I remembered the verse that, La khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun. And I remembered that, is this what it could mean? And I was there for so long. So long. It's so strange. I could observe and be observed at the same time. That's this non-duality, that I was subject and object simultaneously. And I remembered that verse, وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ, that the one who witnesses and is being witnessed. And I was there for so long, wallahi, and it felt so like there's no better feeling than it. And what felt to me at the time that 80 years went by. I don't know how that was being calculated, but it was being felt like that. That I felt that, how we feel time go by, like I feel a day has gone by. I feel sometimes, like I felt that 80 years went by whilst I was there in the presence of Allah. And then I started to, when I started to come out of this, what's odd is the first thing, when you're there, you don't have thoughts. There's no thoughts. There's only knowing. You only know things. You don't think things. You know how we have thoughts, or like a little voice sometimes in our head, or we're thinking thoughts, that has stopped. But it had stopped, but I wasn't aware that it had stopped. I just almost, you see, because you are not your thoughts. You are the one having the thoughts. So a bit like saying, when you wake up in the morning, let's say whoever you are, you don't wake up in the morning and remind yourself, my name is this. you know who you are. There's just a knowing when you wake up. Like that. And the odd thing is, all of a sudden, I started having racing thoughts. And I thought, with the thoughts, I thought, oh, I'm having thoughts again. And with that, I started coming back. And it's weird because then I could hear, like in the distance, some music. I could sense the fragrance. There was a fragrance and aroma in that room. I could sense it all of a sudden. I could hear voices now, but they felt distant, but they were getting closer and closer. And I mean, they weren't actually distant, but this is how I was kind of coming back out of it. And, and then I kind of felt my hand kind of twitching, like my fingers moving. And I remember kind of gradually opening my eyes. And the first thing I did, now this is so odd because later on I heard almost everybody does this. By the way, I hadn't researched other people's experiences before taking this path. I hadn't. And I'm glad I hadn't. So as to, they didn't influence my experience. The first thing I did was I touched my face. And apparently this is something everybody does when they come back. But I remember touching my face and thinking, damn, I've got a face. Now, I know that sounds so stupid, but in that moment, it's intuitive, instinctive. I thought, oh, I've got a face. And then I kind of looked around, and the few people there were just looking at me. They were just smiling, because I thought I'd been away for so long, but I couldn't have been that long because nobody's panicking, so I remember sitting up and I just broke into uncontrollable, ecstatic laughter. I don't know why I was laughing. And this is another thing. They call it the cosmic laughter, that apparently most people, when they come back, they go into this hysterical laughter. And people say it's because the soul realizes that, oh, that this life doesn't really, it's nothing. It's just a game. And it's kind of just coming back, and it's just reacting to that moment with ecstatic, hysterical laughter. And they call it cosmic laughter. And most people experience it. And I could not stop laughing. I did not know why I was laughing. I was like, why am I laughing? Everybody was laughing all of a sudden. And I asked them, how long was I gone? And they said, about 25 minutes. I was like, whoa, 25 minutes. I'd lived a lifetime and came back. And Ya Allah, as Allah says that وَسَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا بِالْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقُّ, that we will show them our signs, that from the cosmos right into their very selves, that there is another world, that if they go in, we will show them our signs until it becomes manifest to them, أَنَّهُ الْحَقُّ, that either it is the truth or that it was the truth. Allah. This khair, there are things which, in this journey of life we share with one another. Now, it is true, everybody's experience is very different. And these things are what Ibn Arabi would call, he would give another name to the Barzakh as Alam al-Khayal. that the imaginal realm, which is a kind of, which is another name, another function modality of the Barzakh. And that's what this is. And in that world, what you experience is not a one-to-one correlate of it. So, for example, if you experience Allah in a certain way, it doesn't mean Allah is like that. But in that Barzakh experience, he can appear to you like that. Just as the Prophet said in a hadith that I saw my Lord as a handsome young man with hair up to his earlobes. Now, this does not mean Allah is like that, but you can experience anything in the Barzakh realm. This is what Ibn Arabi writes, that the world of the Barzakh is a world of symbols, that anything can symbolize anything. So Allah can symbolize light, or light in the Barzakh can symbolize Allah. Or as in that hadith, a handsome young man, or this epitome of beauty can symbolize Allah. It doesn't mean it is Allah. And everybody, including Ibn Taymiyyah, said that hadith is sahih. Khair. Yeah, I thought I'd share that. I'm gonna share the link if anybody, if anybody wants to jump on and maybe share some thoughts. Right, where are we at, people? Somebody's writing in another language. I don't know what that is. I don't know why this is getting jammed. Tajalli, yeah. So, yeah, somebody said, is that a Sahih Hadith? Yeah, it's a Sahih Hadith. The Prophet said, I saw my Lord as a handsome young man with hair up until his earlobes, and in one narration, dressed in green, or in another narration, sitting or resting in a green oasis. So there was a super sticker. I just want to say shukran, Allah bless you. Pirozis, famous couplet often too quoted. खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले अल्लाह खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. That was very much in line with what we were discussing earlier on, that, elevate yourself to that status, that the Lord should ask, what is your will? Let that be. Allahu Akbar. So, people, I've shared the link if anybody wants to join in. Right. Yeah, so deja vu. Yeah, so I think you mean, Hannah, by that maybe deja vu becomes more meaningful. Yeah, deja vu, I believe, is meaningful. I have a mind trap with Sidi Iqbal where we speak of deja vu from the word ruh, Allah. Meanwhile, let's see, I've shared the link. Anybody wants to, did I not share it? Ya salam. See, this is where but one thing with these experiences, these trips, is you really develop such a powerful bond and a love and empathy. And I'm going to circle back to this part in a moment. I'll take some live, guests. But what it does is it heals trauma. And I feel that we, especially as Muslims, especially I could say in the UK, Desi Muslims, and I think by extensioning this really includes many people growing up here, but especially Desis, because I can speak first-hand experience that we carry, like, say, Pakistani men and women, but let's say I can speak as a man, that we carry so much traumatized upbringings that we carry so much trauma that we have disproportionately been damaged. That I do feel that maybe we as British Pakistani men especially, that we suffer disproportionately from narcissistic personality disorder. I think that we have a disproportionate amount of narcissism. Now, these things can be healed. I feel that one of the things these things allowed me to do was heal from a lot of this. Like, it's only later that I felt, oh, I too had these kind of traits. And I could only tell later on, but because I couldn't tell before, but I could only tell later on by comparing and contrasting. It's a bit like saying, if you, like, let's say you have a certain vision, like let's say you're short-sighted or you're colorblind or you would picture the world to just be like that. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell it's different unless other people, you compare it to other people. But when it comes to things like narcissism, we can't compare it to other people because the narcissism kind of blocks you from doing that. So it's only when you're healed, and now it's shown that things like psychedelics or MDMA even, they can heal narcissistic personality disorders. Obviously, with certain therapeutic methods, that is. So, and it's only after a person can contrast that, oh, okay, like, through memories, you can think, yeah, actually, I don't think I, could feel the way I feel now before, like reflecting in memories, that there were some feelings, but it was very handicapped compared to how it is now. So it's as if all of a sudden it's like as if you were, let's say you've gone from very low resolution to high resolution in terms of empathy, in terms of compassion, in terms of emotions, and then you can tell the difference. Think, oh my God, like it wasn't. So I do think, even if it's not for a spiritual or religious experience, but for healing trauma, I think that we as especially Desi British Muslim Pakistanis, we are disproportionately carrying a lot of trauma. And it needs to be healed. Because you see, we don't realize, but we are, you see, by extension, you're not having healthy relationships around you then, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your family, whether it's with anyone. You're not, like, these things are being impeded. Khair, let's bring on some people, and yeah, of course, whatever thoughts are on your mind. First of all, Fahad, assalamu alaikum.
Hey, Mufti, how are you?
I'm well.
How are you?
You?
The thing is, usually you do it on a Friday, but I'm actually at the office, so I really want to come on, but I'm working, so I can't. And luckily for us today, it's a public holiday on Friday, and I'm so happy and I'm so excited. Some big news
willed
first.
It into being some good. Go for it, yeah. Go for it. And I see
me and Denise,
silver grey fox. Look coming on. Is that you?
It's just me being lazy. I got to shave later on. Yeah, it's just me being lazy.
You handsome stud. Grey fox.
I'll just give you a quick tour of my unit. Me and Denise, we purchased a unit a couple of weeks ago, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we just moved in. So we've got a little gym and everything happening. Just some washing and just a little bit of, still got to clean it up and stuff. So, yeah.
Kya baat hai. Allah bless it. Ameen. Put barakah in it.
But you've been well?
Yeah, I'm well. Allah be praised. Everything is good, and the mysteries and the splendor continues to unfold around us. So what more can we say except Lillahi?
And the funny thing is, I usually have in my mind a few things to ask you, but then when I do come on, I get so overwhelmed and starstruck by you, I forget everything.
कहाँ यार, कहाँ वो चमक धमक कहाँ? Where is that?
All right. So I won't take too much of your time because I know there's probably already a few people on the line on the waiting list. So I've got two questions if I may ask.
Of course, please.
Okay. So a while ago, I think this was maybe 6 or 7 years ago, you had a meetup or a podcast with a few people, and the title was "Role of Reason in Religion." I think you hired out a community hall, and there was people asking you questions. Yeah, and I listened to that a lot of times. So the other day there was a few Tabligh Jamati brothers visiting our mosque from Melbourne, and we were just talking and stuff. And I said to him, "Look, for me, religion has to make sense, and you have to apply reason and logic." And one thing that they always come back with, and I can't really answer them, so maybe I can ask you for your opinion. What they say is, "Oh, whose logic or whose opinion?" How do you sort of respond to someone like that if they say, "Oh, logic is very subjective, reason is very subjective, so you can't really apply that argument"? Yeah, if you can maybe help me with that.
You see, sure, like when they say that, look, people say whose logic and whose reason. You see, this is almost it's like apples and oranges, that they're using here logic, and in that sense they're using the word there to mean almost like somebody's personal preference. They're using it like that.
Yeah.
Like a person to say, well, in my opinion, like this. But that's not sure, that can be used in language. You can use, I can say, well, according to my logic, we should do things like this. There, I'm using this to mean my preferred kind of outlook on something, my preference. We should do things in this way. However, most people agree that there is a kind of commonality between human beings, which we all, like an intersubjectivity, we agree that there is some, which people might call general common sense. Now, you might say, well, like there's a famous adage that, oh, well, common sense is not so common. Sure, but to a great extent it still is. Just as if you ask these people, look, how do you okay, I don't want to use the word argue, but let's say, how do you engage a person to believe that or how do you engage the argument that there is only one God? Now, any answer they're giving, they're referring to this common logic, because then they say, well, look, it's logical. But I thought you said whose logic? What, like if I ask them that, by what extent would you argue against idolatry? By what argument is the Quran arguing against statues as gods? It's extending to a common sense that human beings adhere to. It's trying to say, do you think these things that can't speak are helping you? What is Allah reaching out to there? He's reaching out to humans' common sense. Now, a person could say, well, according to whose logic then? How do you believe? So they themselves are just being dishonest in that moment, or they're just having cognitive dissonance, because they do agree that you could put forward the argument of one God, and they only do it based on common logic and common sense. Otherwise, nothing in this world would make sense. You couldn't argue anything without a common logic. We as humans do have common logic. So when they're using this word, oh, according to whose logic, they're using it there with a different meaning almost according to whose preference. But that's not how we use the word generally. Generally, we use the word, when I say, well, according to logic, see, there I'm not saying according to my logic, I'm according to general logic, according to general common sense that human beings subscribe to. Like, we all understand that something which I've just created, how can that be the creator of the world? Like, if I've just created this statue, how could this statue have created the world and be running the world? That goes against common sense. Now, I'm not saying, I do agree that some people might have aberrant thinking. They might, for example, have psychotic thinking or aberrant thinking, or they might be delusional. But most human beings will share and subscribe to this commonality of reason, the voice of reason. Most people do. They understand it. This is why they don't do dumb stuff in their real world, even if it's, it's like they in their, so for example, people don't just do, like, they recognize things like, I don't just walk in front of a car. They recognize it's going to run me over. Like, these things, one could say, well, the car hasn't run you over yet. According to whose logic, it's going to run you over? Well, according to all logic, it's going to run you over, because that's how the world works. You understand that there's no point saying, well, the car hasn't run you over yet, so how do you know it's going to run you over? Well, you know that based on your common observation of the world. So that is the commonality of reason that is subscribed to.
Thank you. All right. Now you've answered that perfectly for me. Mufti, am I allowed to have one more question or two? Up to you. Because I'm trying to decide which one to ask. If I can have one.
Go on. Let's do one, since there's a few people waiting, and we'll kind of.
It's a very easy one.
Sure, go.
This is a very easy, thick one. And it's actually ironic that you were discussing it just 10, 15 minutes ago about the meat in the Maliki Madhab. Now, I think you have touched upon this before, but if you can maybe just dumb it down or simplify it for me. Like, we live in the West, like I live in Australia, you live in England. You obviously got Aldi and Costco, I'm assuming. And the meat that you buy, the meat that you buy from Aldi and Costco, this is where I was a little bit confused about. You know how we live in a predominantly Christian country. So is it okay, as per the Maliki Madhab, to buy meat, beef and chicken from Costco and Aldi? Because a lot of the Hanafis in Darwin, they only go to a halal butcher. You'll never buy from Costco or Aldi. If you can maybe just explain that confusion.
I don't get my meat from there, but I thought Costco meat, ironically, comes from either Australia or New Zealand and is actually halal. This was what
I don't know.
Okay, so I've been told this by people in the UK that that the Costco meat, obviously not pork, but the other meat, that it's imported from, I forgot, I'm sure people can Google it, either New Zealand or Australia. And because they have huge clientele in the Arab world, so based on that, all of their meat is just halal, so it caters for everyone, because otherwise they would lose that on custom.
Yes, that's the same thing here with Costco and Aldi here. But what the people say is, or like a lot of the people that I've spoken to, why they refuse to go to these places, because, and I think it's a little bit silly, what they say is they put the chicken on the same table as the pork, and there could be a little bit of it's silly, a little bit of cross contamination, or they use the same knife to, cut it down into slices with the chicken and the pork, or the beef and the pork. That's why it becomes haram.
Those like cross contamination is another mas'ala, which really, look, if a person doesn't want to, sure, that's fine. Look, a person should go with their conscience. If somebody feels like, look, to me, this is haram, I'm not going there, even though they're saying, look, it's halal, or they're saying it's sourced from halal meat. But let's say this topic of cross-contamination, using the same knife or stuff like this generally shouldn't make it haram in any way. But if a person doesn't feel comfortable, fine, don't do it. We know this because, look, the Christians, for example, the Quran says you can eat their meat. But the Christians in the Prophet's time would also consume pork. They weren't just the Christians in the Prophet's time used to eat pork. The Jewish people didn't, but the Christians did. So the Quran clearly says you can eat the meat of the Christians, and the Christians at home, when they're cooking for you, they're not going to use different utensils. They're going to cook the same way as you cook. They're just going to use the same pots and pans. And in the time of the Prophet, they never had like fairy liquid and things like that to deep clean the utensils. There was probably always some layers of fat and some layers of things still being, some tiny molecules being trapped. So we were commanded not to become OCD in these matters. You see, food, ultimately, Allah says in the Quran, your meats do not reach me. It is only devotion. So whether you sacrifice something or you do this, it's the devotion that reaches me. The blood does not reach me, Allah says, and neither does the meat reach me. It is your devotion. So if it is halal in the Quran to eat from the people of the book, then it wouldn't be haram, cross-contamination, them using the same. In fact, Imam Malik's fatwa and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal's fatwa was that if you married a Christian woman, she was allowed to cook pork at home. And she was allowed to keep pork in her, in her storage at home, and she was allowed to keep wine. That was what Imam Malik said, and this is what Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said, and this is why Imam Malik did not like marrying Christians, because he said that how can you stop her from eating pork and drinking wine when the Quran allows them to do it? So you have no authority to say that, and therefore it is very likely that your children growing up in the same house will just be consuming pork and drinking wine. So he said, I don't like this, marrying women from the book because of these issues. So that just so this cross-contamination, I think, is just an OCD version of people getting very OCD on it. That's all. Right. I hope that.
And the original point, where if it's a predominantly Christian country like England and Australia is, we can trust that the butcher is I don't know, a Christian or a Catholic. Is that okay, or do we have to investigate further?
So that there is a difference of opinion on. So there's many people who would say that, look, we're not going to accept that. We're only going to go with Zabiha. Zabiha meat is the slaughtered by Muslims in what we call the halal way. The word for it, technically, we call it halal, but it wasn't called halal back in the Quran this is a word we've recently used I think it's more popular from the Indo-Pak subcontinent. So we use the word halal to mean what is in Arabic called Zabiha meat. So now that meat, so according to, so there's this understanding that only the Zabiha meat is going to be the one that's permissible, and this other meat is not permissible. Then there is a view that, look, if you live in a day and age where you live in a kind of Christian country, even if it's nominally Christian, so they're not practicing Christian, but it's like saying, look, Muslim countries today, what do we consider practicing Muslim? Like, obviously people are going to say Saudi, but there's like 50 plus Muslim countries in the world, many of whom are very secular. Like let's say you go to Albania or Bosnia. Now these countries will be ostensibly secular, like they're not going to look like, let's say, Saudi Arabia. They're not going to look like that. Or even if you went to Turkey, it looks very, can look very modern. Parts of Turkey can. So according to that argument, that, look, even if the country is nominally Christian, then the meat is halal in that country. Now, that's another view. And some people do follow that, and including, I think, the Salafis popularly follow that as well. So they do say, like, eating in the UK, let's say, nowadays we've boycotted McDonald's. But let's say when people hadn't, they would say, oh, eating from McDonald's was halal because, it's the land is a Christian country, UK is a Christian country. Then there is another argument that is a bit different to that, but ties into that kind of category of saying that it's permissible to eat. And that is that even if it may be makruh to eat, but not haram. So slightly different, a bit more nuanced. And that is saying that really the reason for the biha meat was because other people were offering to false gods. So you were in essence offering to Allah. But what comes of, or what of this point when people in the world stop offering meat to gods? So like
Yes.
today, the world, people don't generally offer their meat to gods anymore. They just kill the animal. So what then? Because the Zabiha began in a time when everybody in the world didn't just kill meat, they offered it to false gods. So Islam made a point that it had to be offered only to Allah. And then this point came that, well, it's a very famous mas'ala that what if a person forgets to say takbir while slaughtering the animal? And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ was when the person came and he said, I forgot to say Allah's name when I slaughtered him. But the Prophet said, but you are a Muslim. And he said, yes. And the Prophet said, then say Bismillah and eat. And so the reason being is because even though he didn't say Allahu Akbar and offer it to Allah, but he didn't offer it to a false God, and he himself believed in God. So this is what the Shafi'iyya and the Salafiyya, for example, promote that hadith heavily. So, well, this argument would say that, well, because people have stopped offering meat to gods, therefore, it is better still to eat the biha meat, which is meat offered to Allah. But if you ate this meat, which is not offered to any God, and people don't even really believe in God, but they just kill the animal for meat, then that meat would not be haram, but it might just be makruh, like discouraged. So there's that view as well. So these are the kind of views. So these views do exist, all of them, from
Thank you.
the haram to it's permissible to it's makruh. Khair, I
Thank you
hope
very
that.
much, Mufti. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
All right. Fahad, take care of
Have a good.
yourself and we'll speak.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, Alaikum salam. People, Fahad, always a pleasure having him on the show from down under. Allahu Akbar. Somebody asking about how to join. Well, I shared the link how to join. Did you not see it? I'll share it again. And somebody saying, yeah, so I'm Bosnian, halal food option, Bosnia widespread. Is absolutely. The example I was giving of Bosnia or Albania was not that halal food is not widespread. But what I was trying to say is that you see people, like you might take certain countries that, like, what do we consider? Some people might have a view that, oh, a Muslim country is like Saudi Arabia. Everybody's like walking around in these thobes, and the Muslim world is not necessarily like that. It's very colorful. And I'm giving the example that somebody might see a country like Albania or Bosnia, and they might think, oh, from outwardly, that it looks very just modern and may even look somewhat secular. But by secular, I mean very modern, and but they are still Muslim. That was my point of saying it, not in a bad way. I was just saying it in a descriptive way. Or like Turkey, you might take some parts of Turkey and think, oh, these people just, it's like you might just think you're in Europe. It looks very similar. I mean, Turkey, I guess, is part of Europe. So, but they are still Muslim. That was my point. Yeah, they do in Bosnia. I believe they're Hanafi al-Madhab, I believe. Right, who do we have here? Whoa, we've got a lot of people. Let's bring on. Okay, Ahmed Ayman. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Hello, Mufti.
All right,
Can
Ahmed.
you hear me?
I can. Where are you joining us from? And
I'm
ahlan
joining
wa
from Egypt.
Allah, marhaban bik. Allah,
Marhaban bik.
from Misr, the blessed holy land.
Yeah,
Allah, what a beautiful place, mashallah.
it's such an honor to be with you. Like, I've been such a big fan of yours. You have really changed the way I see Islam. Like, since I started following you since a year and a half, like, I feel like the way I see Islam is 180 degrees different.
Oh wow, I'm very, very honored and humbled by that, Yar. You're from a land of ulama and tradition. And but honestly, it really touches my heart. Allah keep you always blessed and smiling. I mean, yeah. If there's anything you'd like to share with us, any thoughts, any discussion, or anything on your mind,
I
feel
had
free.
like two questions. First
Yes, of
one
course.
relates to the idea that you talked about in the beginning of not superimposing your opinions on others.
Hmm.
Because I feel like in Egypt, when I started becoming religious at the age of 19, unfortunately, the Salafi movement is the one that is predominant here. They are the
The
ones
Salafi
really,
movement. Do you think
yeah,
so? In Egypt, Salafi movement
yeah. They are really leading the way, especially in the media. There is a new wave of Salafi young preachers who are really leading the way
dominates.
right now.
Not
And
like a kind of, the Dar al-Ifta al-Misriya or the Azhar Azahir, the
no,
ulama
no,
al-Azhar,
no. Like
not these.
even among Muslims here who aren't really adhering to the religion, they view the Dar al-Ifta as very suspicious. They view it as very secular.
Mm,
Like
wow.
even like I've met a lot of people who don't even pray the five prayers, and they
Yeah.
assume that anything that comes out of Dar al-Ifta is just pure hypocrisy, and that the Salafi
Allah.
movements are like they listen to
Wow.
music, go out on dates, and do everything. They may even drink alcohol, but they still tell you that music is haram.
Hmm. Wow.
So,
Okay.
so
That's
I
interesting.
was
That's really interesting to learn that. Wow. Hmm.
yeah, so I was kind of swept up in that movement, and it got to a point where it became too rigid for me. Especially, I consider myself somewhat of a critical thinker, and
Okay.
it doesn't really hold up. So you were really such like a rope sent from Allah. Like I feel like if I hadn't known you, I feel like I would have been stuck in a really, really bad place because I had
Oh,
gotten to a
wow.
point where I felt like angry with God Himself because it felt like religion was unreasonable.
Hmm.
And but I feel like the issue right now is the idea of superimposing because right here, like the superimposition of opinions is so prevalent, and
Yeah.
there aren't many voices like you around here in the Arab world. So you kind of like you always have this questioning thought in your head, like, what if I'm the one who's wrong, and what if I'm just going to be sent straight to hell? And I
No,
always
no.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
always wondered like uh, how you like. I feel like maybe through your young years, you probably went through a similar struggles. I was always
Yeah,
curious about that
yeah,
as well.
yeah. In my early years, previously in some of my shows, many years ago, I discussed at length that, look, when I was younger, in fact, in my late teens, when I started becoming what people would say, very religious, like multazim in that sense, practicing, or I very quickly adhered to what was a very kind of like a super strict ascetic outlook on the almost a very puritanist outlook on the deen, because I guess this is what was, I don't know, I guess there's a number of reasons. One, you see that this was being fed to me, but to be fair, there were other voices present as well, so it's not that this was the only thing. But I think another reason we latch onto it is there is almost a primordial assessment that we assume that because these people are being more harsh against their desires and more sacrificial, they're sacrificing, that somehow this must be more authentic. There's almost like a priori way of looking at that we think, that, oh, this guy is doing so much sacrifice, so he must be upon the haq. Whereas that guy's just chilling and, oh, he's saying you can listen to music, or he's saying, but this guy's giving up everything. Surely that sounds like the deen to me. So I, at that time, had a very, very ascetic, strict outlook on the deen. I would do things like I considered music haram, I considered TV haram, I considered any kind of things like that. I even considered small luxuries like upon myself, like almost haram, like maybe not on other people, but I, for example, even sleeping on a mattress, I would think is somehow indulging in the luxuries of this dunya, and therefore I would just sleep on the floor. I would just have a sleeping bag and sleep on the floor. I wouldn't sleep even on my mattress. I went through this kind of zuhud, this abstinence of the dunya, and this is why, and I don't regret going through that, and I'm very grateful that I went through it at a very young age, where it's almost very forgivable by people that you're like that. Because I think when I was like that, I think, very unwelcoming to other people around me, because maybe in my weird way, I was looking down upon them. Maybe I didn't think I was looking down upon them because I thought, it's for the sake of Allah, but I was looking down upon them. I was somehow thinking I'm better because I don't indulge in these things, and these people are all engaging in haram. And I was very critical of people, almost like, somehow justifying my own thing, like I do this. And I guess because I was young, people just ignored it, like and I'm grateful that it was that age and not this age, where you can damage not only your own life, but cause a lot of harm to people. Whereas when you're a kid, your harm is mitigated. So you don't have that much, your locus of influence is restricted. So, yeah, so that's that. Khair, I don't think, look, as to this thought that, am I just wrong and Allah is gonna punish me and all of these things. Look, that's not how Allah is. Like, ma qadarullah haqqa qadri. That we picture, there's almost like an infantilization of Allah. That we picture Allah to be some kind of like we treat him as if we're treating an infant. Astaghfirullah. But this, we don't intend to, but that's how we treat him. So we act as if, oh, I get it. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but Allah won't get it. Do you understand? Like, of course, I know where you're coming from, but Allah's not going to get it. Allah's not an infant. Like, if we think we're mature enough to understand the nuances, Allah is infinitely much more understanding. And so it's silly. And this thing of like this obsession with Allah punishing us, it's a very Christian way of looking at the world. And unfortunately, it's something that's very widespread throughout the Muslim world as well. And it's an easy way to spread. You see, an easy way to make people religious is to frighten them. That's the easiest of all ways. Just look how, this thing of infantilizing. Take it back to tarbiyatul awlad, raising kids. What's the easiest way to set in rules with kids? To frighten them. Oh, if you don't do this, watch, your dad's going to beat you up, or this is going to happen, or that's going to happen, or you're going to get in trouble, or a monster's going to come and get you. What do a lot of parents, they frighten their kids to sleep, and they frighten their kids, watch, this monster's coming, or this is happening, oh, that animal's going to come and take you, or watch, you're going to get in trouble. Why? Because fear is effective. Like it's the easiest or the most, it's the path of least resistance to assert efficient control over people, is to frighten them. The other ways that you make them understand something, you cultivate love, you cultivate gratitude. Like, for example, the child doesn't fear his father, but the child doesn't want his father to be disappointed in him or her. This is a much higher level of tarbiyah. This takes effort. This is really hard to do. Like making the kids feel that, oh, well, if I do this, my parents are going to be disappointed. I don't want to disappoint them. That takes a hell of a lot of effort. It's much easier to tell them you're going to get in so much trouble, they're going to break your bones. Like that is much easier and a quicker route. And that is the same modus operandi that the preachers use on the public. Oh, if you don't do this, Allah's going to burn you in hell. Right? Because it's the easy way that we infantilize the topic. We treat it just like infants. we treat the public like that as well. Like we treat the public as if they are dumb, and then unfortunately, dumb they become, because that's how you treat them. So yeah, but I do accept it is an effective way to get quick change. The other way is hard and long-winded. See, to do tarbiyah, to nurture a community
Yeah, I was
upon
going
the
to
love
ask
of
you, like, don't you think that fear sometimes is indeed needed?
it is, and this is why it's highly effective, because it is the easiest, is the path of least resistance, because you frighten people, you can control them. Look, governments are doing it right now. The rise of right-wing politics throughout the world is on the back of fear. They are frightening the people, because when you frighten somebody, you can control them. You see, you frighten the public, now you can bring in legislation, you can bring in things. Everybody's frightened. You frighten the world about, oh, immigrants are coming, this is happening, that's happening. They get scared. Oh, people are, they're killing, they're stealing, they're raping, they're doing this. Oh my God, oh my God. And now you bring in legislation, you bring in powers, because you can control people if you can frighten them. This is it's a fact of human nature. So, and it works in animals as well. It's not just humans. So yeah, so it's nothing different that a lot of preachers do with Islam, because it's effective, it works, and they believe in it. Sure, like I get it that a lot of these people, I'm not saying they are trying to manipulate people, because many of these preachers, some probably don't, but many of them believe in this as well. See, they have this very, what is like a warped view of God, that Allah is just there about, Allah just want, that like they treat Allah as if he's like, astaghfirullah, it's not, but this is how they treat him, or this is how they depict him, as if he is a benevolent tyrant or a benevolent dictator. That's a better way, like a benevolent dictator, that he has mercy, but if he loses it, he's going to just kill everyone. Like this is how they treat, like this is how they give the image and the picture of God, that he's a benevolent dictator, that he's commanded you to do this, you better do it, because maybe he might show mercy, but if he doesn't, heads are gonna roll. But the truth is, Allah, ta'ala Allah ma yasifun. Allah is above, what they depict him as. And, ma qadarullah haqqa qadri, that they have underestimated God, as Allah says in the Quran. Khair, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this leads to the second point I want to ask you about, which is like if we remove the fear factor from preaching and allow people in a more nurturing environment,
Yeah.
I feel like where do we put the guardrails on critical thinking? Because I feel like listening to your videos has really widened my view on the views inside of Islam and what is permissible and not permissible. But I feel like it also got me to a point where I started wondering, like, what prevents a takfiri, for example, from saying, well, that is my viewpoint of Islam and that is how I read Islam, and you can't really, there is no, like, what is the guardrail that prevents such interpretations?
You see, I feel that we can't prevent people from having their own interpretations. Like people will have all kinds of interpretations. Somebody might have a very puritanist interpretation of Islam, like they do, like a lot of the Salafiyah do. And somebody might have an extremist interpretation of Islam, that, you can go around killing people if they're non-Muslim, or some people might have that. I mean, we can't physically prevent people from understanding or misunderstanding the Quran, because people will misunderstand, people will have their understanding of it. Often I feel that to some extent, not in everything, but to some extent, the Quran is a mirror. And what you bring to it, it mirrors back to you. The kind of, by this I mean almost the attitude of it. So if you are a person who brings a lot of, you're a controlling person, you're somebody that's very you micromanage people around you, you will see these things when you read the Quran. But really, you're seeing what is in yourself being mirrored back to you. And it's just a confirmation bias for you. And if you come to the Quran with openness and love and compassion, then you'll see that being mirrored back to you. So, al-mu'min mir'atul mu'min. So now that this thing here, and and in that sense, al-mu'min, one of the al-mu'min could be the name of Allah. Al-mu'min mir'atul mu'min. And so so we can't stop people from interpreting however they want to interpret it. What we would do is we would just present our interpretation in saying, look, sure, that's how you understand it, but this is how we understand what Allah is saying. And I'm not trying to, like, I do believe that we can't force people to we can't control thought, and we're not trying to control thought. We're not trying to say, nobody's allowed to think a different opinion, because that's a kind of like a dictatorial, draconian world that we're not trying to. Islam hasn't come for that world. The Quran says if Allah had wished, everybody would have embraced, but Allah allowed people to disagree, even disagree with Islam, to disagree with Allah. Allah allowed it. So who are we to say, well, people are not allowed to disagree? They are. So I wouldn't voice or argue for having just one way of reading things. People are different, so let them just be different. We would just say, well, this is how we would present our voice, and then whoever this makes sense to, alhamdulillah. If it doesn't make sense to you, okay, fine. There's la ikraha fid din.
Can I just ask one last question, or would it be too much?
Yeah, and then we'll do a last one. We'll keep it a bit brief. There are a few people waiting.
Okay, one last thing I sometimes had doubt about with regards to Salah, which is like, if God knew that most Muslims wouldn't be able to keep up the 5 times prayer a day, wouldn't that just make it impractical in a sense?
You see, this topic of Salah is like the pillar of Islam. It is like the thing that holds up the tent, I guess. It is like a lifeline, or something that allows us to be tethered to the faith as a pulsating, something that is alive. Now, Allah has laid out 5 salahs in a day. You're right, knowing that most of the Muslim world will never fulfill 5 salahs in a day. However, they have something to aspire to always. Like, sometimes the aim must always be much higher than most people will always do or achieve. And I guess at least if they have the aspiration in their heart, or they have some value for that in their heart, which most people do, then maybe that, is very meaningful. And yeah, so it doesn't, so for people who do perform the 5 prayers, they will reap immense benefits. But for other people, it will always serve as a kind of, something that even if it's, just in, like, for lack of a better term, even if it's just wishful thinking, but it's an aspiration that they might have, that, oh yeah, it's very nice, I would like to do that, pray 5 times a day. So it becomes even if it's a wishful thinking aspiration, but it holds value in their hearts, but it's something that unifies people. So I think it is very powerful. Obviously, there are certain questions to be asked. There's a, well, I don't know if there's questions to be asked, but there's a very hard and difficult conversation that may or may not be may or may not need to be had. I don't know. But it is a conversation that exists, that this whole culture of punishing around Salah, where did this really come from? Because it's not in the Quran. This whole thing of, and it doesn't really make much sense from that perspective of worship, that how could you be forced to worship? Because then the worship would have no gratitude. If I because it's kind of ironic. If I say I compel you to be grateful, then that's not gratitude. If I say I force you to love me, then how then surely you don't love me because I'm forcing you to love me.
But isn't
So
it kind of implied in the Quran with verses like وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ? Isn't it
say
kind of
that again, sorry.
implied? The verse that says وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ.
وَعَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. You see, like
What
it goes on, like if you carry on, right? So it's not just that, so in these 2-3 verses, like you're going to say, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ. Now, in this verse and in another verse, you're going to see قَالُوا مَا سَلَكَكُمْ فِي سَقَرٍ.
Yeah, I
قَالُوا
was going to mention that one. Yeah.
لَمْ نَكُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. We are not from those who prayed. وَلَمْ نَكُ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ. And we were not from those who fed the poor. وَكُنَّا نَخُوضُ مَعَ الْخَائِضِينَ. And we were with those who created mischief and trouble. وَكُنَّا نُكَذِّبُ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. And we never believed in an afterlife anyway. You see, so the Salah thing here, is that really the reason? Because they're saying, oh, we never used to feed people. Is that not a bigger reason? What about creating the mischief and trouble? What about denying the afterlife and not believing in any of these things? So there isn't a single verse. Salah is spoken about a lot in the Quran. And if it was something that was so clear that it was going to be punished, then how has Allah never mentioned it? And how could he say things like "U'budullah mukhlisina lahuddin," that pray to Allah with a sincere heart? Because how can you be sincere if you're being threatened to do it? Like, it doesn't make any like that. But this is a very hard conversation to be had. That you couldn't, like, if I said to you, if you don't love me, I'm going to smash your head in with this baseball bat. That can't, like, it doesn't, like, that now negates any concept of love. So anything you now do cannot be meaningfully expressed as love, because especially if I was being serious, like if I was being serious here and I had that we are going to, physically do so much damage to you unless you love me, like, what does that even mean? Unless you are grateful to me right now, I'm going to, do this, and I'm going to shoot you in your legs, let's say. Now, even let's say you start saying, oh yeah, I really appreciate you, by the way. Oh my God, I appreciate you so much. Trust me. You are like, wow, you know what? Wow, you're an amazing. Can I believe you to be sincere?
Of course not. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, so this is an irony. So this is I feel a conversation maybe many people are not
But what
ready to
about like
have.
last thing, the hadith that says like I don't think that I remember the phrase correctly, but like make kids pray at 7 and وَاضْرِبُوهُمْ على 10.
So that is a hadith more so speaking about tarbiyat, about teaching discipline to your kids. Yeah, like for example, imagine you as a person let's say you took jogging very seriously or something. Now in fact, today I read this, sorry, not today, yesterday I read this social media post, and it said that when I was a young boy, my dad would wake me up every morning 6 a.m. to go on a run. And he said, and I hated him. And he made me do that for 6 years. And he said, and I hated him with all my heart, that as soon as I turned 18, he said, I left home And I never looked back and I never spoke to my dad. And he says, until I was 29, he says, I suddenly, he says, I sent a note to my dad or something out of the blue. He says, I turned up and I left this note there. And it said that I hated you for waking me up at 6 a.m. and making me jog. Said that there was nothing more that I resented, that you were against my rest, you were against my sleep. And he says, and I left and I did not even think of ever contacting you because of my hatred until, he said, at this age, I was hit with this calamity in life. And I realized that you weren't waking me up to run every morning. You were waking me up to teach me that even when it gets hard, you can keep going. And he said, when I made it through this, I realized I appreciated you. And so, you see, teaching your kids Salah is to teach them discipline, is to teach them to tether them to God. Now, maybe they won't pray, or maybe they will pray, or maybe they'll come back to it at a later time in life. That's not the same as to do with the punishment surrounding Salah. That's a different topic. So I do feel that, of course, like teaching your kids Salah is very important. And it's, because you can't, like some things to kids, they're taught as practices. And then as they mature, they learn deeper meanings to them. And that's understandable, just like any art. Just as, if you're teaching your kids something, you're not gonna first of all teach them the philosophy or the gratitude behind it. They're gonna probably, as kids, because they just want to sit around playing all day. They don't want to do something. So to me, that's very different and very reasonable to teach your kids discipline.
Okay, thank you, Mufti. Like, this has been such an amazing. It feels like a fever dream talking to you, actually.
Allah,
So thank you.
Allah bless you. Honestly, your words they really, really do mean a lot to me.
I hope you can come to Egypt one day.
I will. I have been to Egypt in the past, and I will, inshallah.
Really?
Well, definitely. I'll. Where are you? Cairo? Is
No.
it?
Do you know the city of Tanta?
Which one? Tampa. Oh,
Tanta.
wow. Oh, Tantawi. Oh,
Yeah. You know Said al-Badawi, right?
yeah. The
Yeah.
famous. Well, you know what? Message me on Instagram. We'll stay in touch, inshallah. We'll
Okay.
stay
Thank you,
connected. But
Mufti.
Allah bless you. Take care of
Thank you,
yourself. Assalamu alaikum. People, right, that was Ahmed from Tanta. All right. All the way from the blessed land of the, shall I say, the civilizations and the great pyramids. Allah. And the land of prophets. Allah. Who do we have here? Faz. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Ahlan.
How are you?
All right. I'm good. Where are you joining us from, Faz? As a fashion icon that I can see.
In the
We're
UK.
having we're having stud after stud appear on the show today with the fashion symbolism. I love it. MashaAllah.
We are all reflections, so yeah, it's you can take that on yourself.
Allah. So Faz, yeah, mashallah. What city are you from?
So I'm down south in Surrey.
Oh, sorry, Allah. Yeah, so Faz, what's on your precious mind? Share some thoughts with us.
I've had a lot of experiences. I've had a number of out-of-body experiences. I remember since growing up, I've had experiences where I've been out of my body. For example, once where I was at uni, and I remember we organised a kind of debate, proof of God, actually.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Very, very strange. At the end of the night, me and my friend Ahmed, we were just talking, and it's about 12:30. I got on the train, and really, really tired, So I kind of just fell asleep like this. And then I remember seeing the train go by, my body as well. And then I thought of Ahmed, and instantly I was in the library. And there's books behind him, there's like a blue chair next to him. And I thought, well, I didn't think, I was just simply like observing.
Yeah.
And I think something moved in his environment, and instantly I was back in my body. And then I was like, oh, of course I'm taking it back, but I called him up and I said, Ahmed, where are you right now? He goes, why? I go, no, just tell me where you are. He goes, I'm just in the library doing some, finishing some coursework. And I said, are there books behind you in a blue chair? He goes, yeah, why? I just hung up. Okay, all right, no, thank you. But I think as Muslims, often we interpretate reality through the human senses, which have, since Adam alayhi salam, they've gone downhill, almost like the many strands of our DNA which are broken down, whether it's due to abusing the body through having bad foods, bad air, bad everything. I think when we connect with the ruh of this planet through its many, one can simply sit with it, one can meditate with it. I do a lot of breath work as well. So through a lot of breath work experiences, and especially if one connects to plant medicines, they can experience more than themselves. But I've often contemplated, what does this mean when Allah says, when my servant thinks of me,
that I mention him.
Yes.
Yeah, Allah.
So I've often thought of this. So does what we as a human species, what we think, does it dictate what Allah is? So I've thought of this much. And the conclusion I've come to is yes, but also it's not that we think and it is, all already exists, including the beyond and the mystery. So if we think, English is a very it's a very interesting language. I think colonialism was much done by the English language rather than any particular religion, because that caused the interpretation of but with Allah, there's no deceit. It's like the all and the the beyond. No matter what you can think, that is still beyond.
Allah.
So Allah is so much beyond. And I think I've often thought of this as well. What is this, the final message? And I've thought of it, and I've grown up, in the kind of intellectual proof of God, but I found that it's very much limited by linear time, where we say, 1400 years ago, so this is why, because this is the last Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's not that this is not the case, this is limited by linear time. If we step out of time, the final message is simply, once you know, you cannot unknow. It's so much beyond. It's every reality. So even without time, it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
once you know you cannot unknow, and this is the final message, it's beyond anything that the lips can mention, because
Yeah, ineffable. It cannot be trapped in words, the ineffability of it. Wow. No, shukran, Faz. I really appreciate you sharing that experience and sharing these thoughts, your articulation of this feeling, of this experience, of this that trip, and the meaning that you've felt and taken, or that's been visited upon you by that experience. So shukran for sharing that.
Barakallah.
Allah keep you blessed.
And
MashaAllah.
may I ask, how are you?
I'm good. Allah be praised. I'm good. Allah be praised, man.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, I think yeah, things are good. And if we I think we have to really, in life as it is, learn to always just see goodness as much as we can. And it's like an attitudinal trait. It's like a muscle. We can work it and develop it. And another thing, I do feel that as we age, I find that like good company, it is just priceless, honestly. And I feel that having a very close circle of friends, people that are very like a band of brothers, if you like, that you're very close with, that you have these, I feel that's also something deeply invaluable and becomes much more priceless as we age. Just being able to kind of have that, and very, let's say, frequently to be in the company, to share thoughts, have conversations, dialogues, laughter, just things. I think this in itself is a blessing of this dunya. It's so, yeah, that's it really. Other than that, just going through.
May I share another? So I've come across the why of the creation. So
Okay.
it's it's very much given by all the prophets.
Okay.
Like, it's tadakkur, remembrance. Because Allah says, what we think is.
Yeah.
So when we think, out of time, these realities all exist and beyond.
Yeah.
But within time, when we think of remembrance, we create every reality of forgetfulness to get to remembrance.
Okay.
So in the all of and the beyond, yes, it is all connected, very much like this quantum,
like superpositions almost, an
like
Everettian kind of world.
It's like the spectrum of the whole frequency and beyond what we can comprehend all exist. And within those frequencies, there's every like whatever that frequency contains and is made of, it expresses in all of those expressions. I believe, I don't believe, the human is very much the best of creation, because in this kind of construct, there's many realms, and the Prophet ﷺ when he ascended, he visited these many realms.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, yeah.
And I recall at the Battle of, I think it was Badr, where
Yeah.
some Sahabi were talking about some strangeness in the sky, and the Prophet ﷺ, I can't recall the details, but I believe he interrupted and said, those were the angels from the third realm or third heaven. So it's funny that it was described the level. So within different levels,
like dimensions.
Well,
Sure.
every realm has infinite dimensions, but
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to go into the nature of reality.
No, mashallah. No, I really appreciate that. Shukran. Allah keep you blessed. And, do stay connected as well. There's quite a few people on here. So just to running a bit low on time. So just to squeeze in a few others. Right. Faz, shukran for sharing that with us. Allah keep you blessed. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum. People, that was Faz joining us from Surrey in the UK. Allah. All right. Let's see. Who do we have here? All right. We have Bekbal Mbolatov. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can see you as well, and that joyous smile of yours. Yeah, what a smile!
Just
so radiant, mashallah.
Yes, thank you. I really want to thank you first. Like as Ahmad said, like from Egypt, like I think you've changed many people's lives. In the I'm one of them. It's like really. I started watching your videos like November of last year. It was very how to say the interesting moments of my life. Like I discovered Islam from different perspective. Like my how to say my knowledge to Islam. I mean, I'm already layman. I'm just thankful, and I was also very judgmental before seeing your videos. I had this kind of also OCD, always thinking about things, and but after watching your videos, I became more chill. I think this radiation came maybe also this saying how to say pure monotheism, like no evil eye, some kind of magic things, like you just don't think about those things.
Away from superstition, kind of.
No attachment to anything, like. And I think it also helped me to find a job. I'm an engineer. I develop applications for mobile apps. I mean, I can do most of the time. I mean, web apps, any app, but mostly do for mobile apps. Yeah, it also like learning from your videos helped me. Free of context from my mind. I just understood that most of the things are very simple in Islam, and I just have to focus on my work and just don't harm anyone. Like pray 5 times a day. Yeah, very grateful. Also, I think I found all of the questions. I mean, answers to all of questions. Like I can't ask any question from you. Like I can just go through patterns, what you told all of those videos, and I can get my answer like immediately. Or I don't know. It's always simple.
No.
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm really deeply touched. Allah bless you, Bekbol. And is that Bekbol? Is that how we say it?
Bekbol? Yes, Bekbol. Yeah, almost
Bekbol,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm really shukran for sharing that. And Yeah, you know, it's very surreal in a way for even me, because I do think sometimes, like, wow, like people say, like you saying that to me feels like amazing and surreal at the same time, because it's like, wow, really, like I've had that impact.
Mm,
Like you do think to yourself that, wow, like how, but it's at the same time, it's very rewarding to hear that. Like I do think, subhanallah, like if that has, you know, that it's done that it's removed superstition from people's
yeah.
lives, like stop them being all, oh my god, this is going to happen to me, that's going to happen to me. Yeah, and it's brought noor to your face, Ball. You got a radiant. I can't even picture such a Noorani face being judgmental. Yeah, it wouldn't suit you to be judgmental.
No, I
Where
wasn't
I
judgmental.
I
Like,
forgot to ask, where are you calling? Where are
I'm
you from?
from Almaty, Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. Ah,
Yeah,
oh, there was a comment in here today saying, "Oh, would
yeah,
you come to
it's me.
Kazakhstan?" Was that
Yeah,
you?
yeah, it
All
was me.
right.
I,
Yes, of course. I'll come
I,
round one of the time, man.
yeah,
We should check out these countries. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
is that the
Because
place where they're always, you know, there's some clips that go viral where they like go to the mountains and they take this meat
yeah,
and they cooking all these steaks and laying out
yeah,
these rugs. Is that is it Kazakhstan?
yeah,
There's some
yeah.
viral clips like that. It is, isn't it?
It's
Yeah, I
my
thought so.
city. Yeah, one mountains in Almaty. Yeah, near Almaty,
Almata. All
countryside. Yeah.
right. Mashallah. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it's the from the word alma, it's apple. Like most of the like apples originated from this place, like from ancient
Ah, like
times.
worldwide. They all
Yeah,
right. They come
worldwide.
from
Yeah,
Almata. From
yeah,
Almata.
Almata. Yeah, alma
Wow.
means apple. Yeah.
Alma. Wow. Alma also, I mean, I guess in Spanish and Latin origin means the soul, which is
Mm,
interesting. Mm,
yeah, very
that's, yeah,
interesting.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, all
I
right.
mean,
So that's
I have.
wow. So, yeah. Fire away,
Oh,
fire away.
yeah. Well, question. I mean, I always open Instagram to watch the stories of yours. If you reposted something, I don't know.
My stories are usually all over the. Sometimes I'll post a joke. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
post a serious article. Sometimes I'll post like some medical research. Sometimes I post like, you know, just something ridiculously, stupidly funny. You know, it's a
Mm,
mishmash. My stories are like, I don't know. I always think, what do people think? What am I doing? Because one moment they're probably really serious, and then there's like a ridiculous,
yeah.
like a meme or something funny and stupid, and yeah.
Yeah. One of the reposts I've seen from you, it was like someone is talking about Ibn Abidin, I think. Like he had the religion of the most is like he told that you can choose the fatwas of like most of the time we were told that we can't do fatwa shopping kind of thing, like we
Yeah,
can't do,
yeah.
but he was like opposite of it, like he said no, it's
Hmm,
much better to do that, and you reposted or you liked it, I seen that,
sure.
and
Yeah.
I've been thinking, oh, like most of the like Kazakh people, I mean, I think Central Asia, we are mostly Hanafi, and but
Yeah.
yeah, but how to say, I hold your views as a Hanafi mostly,
Allah.
and like
Are
my
we
question
sparking
was,
a revolution in Kazakhstan?
yeah. But just the one thing is that I can talk about religion because I don't have how to say uh, uh, license like to talk about
License, yeah.
religion. You can
Like an
get
authority.
yeah, authority. You can get jailed for
No
saying
way. Are they
yeah.
strict? Are they very strict in
Yeah,
Kazakhstan? Or
we're very strict. Like you can't preach if
oh,
you're not, if you have to
oh,
be an imam, you have to have this license
oh, wow.
like
Okay.
given by yeah, we're very strict in that matter. If it would be
Yeah,
like in America, like free speech,
yeah.
I would translate all of your videos into Kazakh. Yeah. So my question is, can I be like half Hanafi, half Maliki? Like I still pray like Hanafi, but
don't worry about it. It's all good. Yeah, half. You can be half on this caravan. Don't worry. We'll send you in as a crypto hidden Maliki, and then you could you can infiltrate from within.
Yeah. I also was in Oman. Like they I think also Maliki.
So in Oman, I don't think they're Malik, but they pray like the Malikiya, like they pray with their arms on the side, and they do that. Oman, yes, once again, very like a nice, peaceful kind of place as well. So Kazakhstan. What's the capital of Kazakhstan?
It's Astana.
Astana.
Wow,
yeah, Kazakhstan.
Yeah, it's like the problem is we can't get a visa to enter England, but you can come, I think.
Okay, we should be able to go. People, we gotta set up something where it's gonna be in Kazakhstan. We can set up those steaks and cigars. Are they into cigars? Tell me they're into cigars.
Yeah, I'm into cigars. I've been watching Andrew Tate most of the time. I always wanted to smoke a cigar. I still didn't thought that it was kind of forbidden. Then I watched your videos.
These are sacred things.
Yeah, very sacred. Just in Kazakhstan, they're very expensive because of the tax.
Yeah, they're expensive everywhere. Unfortunately, they've highly, especially in the UK, they're ridiculously expensive. In some countries, they're much cheaper. Like in parts of Europe, it's cheap. Like Spain is much cheaper. Netherlands is actually quite cheap, very cheap. America is ridiculously cheap for cigars.
$5. It's like almost free.
It's like I watch YouTube. Like let's say this is an Oliva. This one's a Serie O. But like you could get, for example, like let's say in the States, these probably go like sometimes like maybe I don't know, $10, $11, $12. Here they'll be like £30 for one, £28 for one. Sometimes maybe more, depending. Obviously, if it's Cuban, then obviously 50, 60, £70 for one. But otherwise, they're hyperinflated. But from Europe, you can get them much cheaper. Much cheaper. Okay, so Kazakhstan, so you're into cigar.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to start with this.
I mostly smoke Alec Bradley.
Alec Bradley is they are Nicaraguan. You can't beat Nicaraguan. See, once you've gone Nicaraguan, that's it. It's difficult going back to something else.
It's like after watching your videos, you'll never come back.
Yeah, you just cannot. I tell you, there is a Nicaraguan. I mean, there's so many, but like some hard hitting. I tell you, AJ Fernandez, they do a few. Like one's called New World, one's called San Latanos. Very Nicaraguan. I mean, they have a bit of a blend, but Nicaraguan in there. Very, the last third will have you in a zone where you are reflective, you're philosophical, you're in a maqam. That's it. It's like I can't picture now any meaningful, deep conversation in life without a cigar. Like I would think like imagine you had to have a very critical or a deep level meeting or dialogue, or it needs a cigar, Like what else like that? Like you need to get into that zone where now you're on that maqam, that wavelength. Now we can talk with deep pensive insight.
I've heard that Winston Churchill had this, like he always had this long cigar, and everyone have been waiting for 20 minutes. So this how it's called when you smoke and the ash should fall.
Yes. His ash wouldn't fall. He was sly, So he had this thing where he was doing it to assert like almost dominance, because when you're smoking the cigar and it's holding a lot of ash, so that person is almost like the ash king. Like if we're all smoking, you've got the most ash on there. It's like a right. So now the ash after a certain point is going to fall, but they say, what Churchill would do is he would insert like a long pin, like a metal pin inside, and the pin would hold the ash longer. So his ash wouldn't fall. So other people around him didn't know he had that pin inside it. So he would obviously smoke away, and he would do this on purpose to kind of have this kind of like aura in front of others. You know, but obviously that, yes, I mean, he has obviously contributed to cigars to the extent that now one of the sizes, Churchill, is always named after Churchill. Yeah. What else other than an Alec Bradley? Alec Bradleys are all right. They're all right. They're pretty good.
I mean, I started only in April, May. I found it in Dubai. It's Project 40. It was given by the concierge, or who's
okay.
Yeah.
You know, when we do meet Betball, I will bring you some premium cigars. I'm gonna bring you some premium, solid cigars. I have a whole humidor, by the way. I can't get enough of cigars. You know, I tell you, there's a brand that's not so well known. I think it's the brand itself. I think is Ventura, something like this. But they make this cigar called Psycho 7. Spell it like Psyko, Psycho 7. The blue one, the Nicaraguan one. That entire cigar is a maqam that you are just, whoa, that is like you are ready to deep life, philosophy, everything. You're ready. This is like borderline psychedelic. You're going in. It's not actually necessarily such an expensive or premium. It's just mid-range, but it is there have been very few cigars that have been so hitting in that way as the Psycho 7. It's like I think that's why I think it's like a 7-inch, like Churchill. Although I think it's slightly ring gauge is slightly larger, but yeah, this is a world unto itself. And I feel that even these things, honestly, I feel there is a shifa in these things, that there is, you know, research shows. I feel a lot of people are a bit brainwashed when it comes to, because they don't know, so they compare cigars to cigarettes. Cigarettes are horrible, toxic, dangerous. Cigars are nothing like that, because cigars are mostly, any reasonable cigar is mostly organic. It's taken something like 3 to 5 years to make a single cigar.
At least.
Whereas, at least, and you know, some much more. And cigarettes are churned over in the minutes. They have like very just cheap tobacco in them. They have refined, you know, chemical processes, a lot of additives.
They're like energy drinks, as they're like coffees.
Yes. And they are like, you see, a cigarette is something, they're very addictive, and the whole purpose of them is to get a fix. Like people are like, oh, I need a fix. I need a fix. Cigars are nothing like that. Cigars are to put you in a zone of thought where you lower your consciousness into deep, pensive, philosophical thinking. They take an hour to smoke. They are best enjoyed in great company with somebody else. They bring people to, you don't ever gasp for, oh, I need a cigar, I need a cigar.
You cannot be addicted to it.
It never happens. You can't be addicted to them in that way. Like, sure, look, nicotine might have some subtle addictive property in the way that caffeine has, because nicotine is a nootropic. It's something that it sharpens the brain and it adds to these things, just as caffeine does. But in cigarettes, there's something like 16 additives, which they call pyrosines as well, which are very dangerous. So they have a very different effect, and they're trying to make you addicted to cigarettes, so you keep buying them. Now, a cigar is a totally, you know, and one of the studies was showing the smoke is more alkaline, it's not acidic. And
you shared it in your stories.
Yeah. And it shows that, for example, studies show that even if, like, let's say a person smoked up to 3 to 4 cigars a day, when contrasted, it was as negligible as somebody who didn't smoke. And because people don't realize you don't inhale the smoke for a cigar. You know, it's not like a cigarette. You don't take it into the lungs. And the other thing was, one study showed that people who smoke cigars lived longer than
Yeah.
people who did not smoke. And that was a fascinating study, because that kind of was like, well, wait, what the hell's going on here? And it's probably because they're so in this zone of reflective relaxation and thought that
Yeah.
they live longer. So,
Yeah, I think
and you
because
know,
of low cortisol, like
and
low
it
low
raises
stress.
testosterone levels. You know,
Mm,
people have much
yeah.
higher testosterone levels when they smoke a cigar, and you know, to the people of the like South American culture, the tobacco plant is a sacred plant. It's considered as part of plant medicine. And what people don't realize is, you see, it's called the Solanaceae family in plants. It is part of the same family as tomatoes,
Yeah.
aubergines, potatoes, and chilies. It's the same family. And all of those things contain nicotine. So tomatoes contain nicotine, aubergine contain. Nobody says aubergine is, you know, addicted.
Yeah.
How have you heard anybody addicted to tomatoes? But they just don't realize it contains nicotine. You see, so yeah. But that, wow. So I think that's super
Yeah.
epic. So one, the
Yeah.
Maliki, one Kazakhstan. Oh yes. Two, the Maliki Madhab.
Yeah.
Three,
Yeah.
cigars. Hi,
Oh, yeah.
Bekbol. We're
Also,
gonna have to visit.
yeah, definitely. I also am applying to Revolut. Do you know the bank Revolut?
Yes, yes,
Have
yes.
you? Yeah,
Revolut.
it's
Yeah.
made by Nick Staronsky, Russian from Moscow. I'm
Okay.
applying
I
to
didn't realize
there,
it was.
so if I get into Revolut, so I can visit Birmingham, inshallah. So if
Ahlan
I
wa
get
sahlan.
visa,
I will
yeah,
host you as you come
yeah,
here. Don't worry,
yeah.
inshallah. And
Also,
whether it's going to be here or whether we come there, I will
yeah,
have premium cigars waiting for you. Don't worry,
inshallah,
Bekbol.
inshallah,
Till
yeah,
then, right, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
yeah.
Message me on Instagram. We'll stay
Yeah, I
connected.
always message you. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
message me
nick.
again, but after this
Okay,
convo. Sorry, what did
okay.
you say? Your nickname? Did you say you had a nickname?
My nickname is Bek Bull. It's like Red Bull, but Bek Bull.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
message me or I'll look out for it, inshallah, and we'll
Okay.
connect.
Yeah,
Take
inshallah.
care. Well,
Assalamu
Bekbul,
alaikum.
it's been a pleasure. Alaikum
Yeah.
salam. People, that was Bekbul all the way from Kazakhistan. Allah, Allah. Look at that noor he had on his face, people. The noor he brought. Wow, an amazing soul. You know, you see some people and you can just, they radiate positivity. And you can just tell that what a great person. And you don't even, it could just be the first time you're meeting them. You think, yeah, what an amazing soul. So Allah bless him and bless you all. I could see here there's some questions that, what's this? Mariam, you'd said I have an image that only men smoke cigars. No, now it's actually becoming a thing amongst women as well. Women, you're right. Maybe across the board, it's more so associated with men. But now, recently, in recent times, increasingly more and more women, it's an uptrend that women too are smoking cigars. And I just feel it makes beautiful conversation, honestly. Just the presence, the company, it's priceless. And I feel that, you know, like I said, like if anything was to be discussed in life that was of any value or meaning, I can't picture it without a cigar. You just sit there, that's going to take an hour. Have some coffee or tea or drink or whatever you like with it, chai or. And you have to have some drink, something with it to keep the, you know, the moisture in the mouth. Otherwise, the smoke can make it dry. And it's just blessed company, honestly. The best way to enjoy a cigar is with great company. And it just makes you deep life in a way that, yeah, it's different. It's difficult explaining it to somebody who doesn't do it, because you are in this maqam and wavelength where, wow, like you can the intricacies and nuances of of this dunya. Hi, you're ready for them. It's like that. But yeah, it is an uptrend. Absolutely, Mariam. So yeah, but there is a yeah, won't show it. Well, you know what? We'll have to, on the Discord, we'll have to arrange some kind of, where we have the chat, and because we have our Discord group chats, and yeah, that's a great way to have those chats is, with a cigar. Right. Seems like an explosion of nicotine. I don't know, I feel now it could be, this is my take. I feel that it's more than just the nicotine. Like, I don't feel if you put a nicotine, like nicotine is obviously a nootropic, it's powerful. We have receptors in our body, nicotine receptors. That's why we have them. So they pick up but I feel it's not just that there is something about the practice, the leaf itself. And I was reading somewhere that maybe it's the breath work is adding to it. The breath work. That you do that for an hour, and that brings the soul to a certain, because the soul is deeply connected to the breath in this dunya. Yeah. How do I join the Discord? The Discord is through patreon.com /MALM. There you can see it there. /MALM in the background. Can you see it? Oh, look. This is me. I'm never too good on there. You can see it there. Right, okay. We've got some people still waiting. How long have we? Whoa, we've been going on for ages today. Right, let's see. Who do we have here? Vitor Valenta. Assalamu alaikum, Vitor.
Alaikum assalam. Do you hear me?
I can, loud and clear. With an echo. Allahu Akbar.
Yeah.
Where are you joining us from, Vitor?
From Brazil.
Wow.
The state of Espírito Santo.
The Spitzat. All right. Wow. Brazil is just.
It means Holy Spirit.
Oh, wow. I was just about to say, with such a cool name, Vitor, it sounds almost like Victor, the Vitor. No. I was like, wait.
Yes, my name means Victor. Valente means brave, like brave.
Yeah, I thought so. Wow. Look at that. See, now the accent makes sense. The Brazilian. Yeah. Wow.
It's hard to follow up on Backball, though. You were so happy talking about cigars, like.
Yes, Brazil, yes, South America. This is where, they come from, these places. Now you have the, is it the Matafina Brazilian wrapper that is famous for, they obviously produces its own wrappers, and South America, yeah, nobody can compete with.
Here, people use a lot of, I don't know how to say it, but it's a one that you can roll small with organic tobacco.
Okay.
That's more common than Cuban.
Like a roll? Is it a cigar or is it like a cigarette?
Like a cigarette.
Okay.
And people roll it.
They roll it up. Okay, I see, like a roll up. Yeah. But okay, wow. So Brazil. So talk to us, Vitor. It's an honor having you. May be the first guest from Brazil actually on the show. I'm trying to think. Allah.
First time for everything.
وَالسَّابِقُونَ. You see, Brazil is long on my list, as is South America, that I have to visit. But I must say, sometimes I'm freaked out by all the, all the media stuff that you think, you're gonna get kidnapped by some cartels and tortured.
Bruh.
You get all this.
If you go by the media, if you go by the media, you never go to the Muslim world either. So
yeah, true.
let's be
Very
fair.
well, very well said. Very well said. That is so true. But it's such a beautiful part of the world. Allahu Akbar. Yeah. So, all right, talk to us. Tell us what's on your thoughts, on your mind,
Actually,
Vitor.
before you were saying about the psychedelics thing, and often we talk about rationalism, and even you like try to bring thoughts like rational thoughts into Islam, like bring it kind of back.
True.
But when you see traditions like Sufism that has this transcendental kind of thing, is kind of look down upon. Like in Islam, people look down on Sufism and at least the modern way of Sufism, I guess. And you even cited Ibn Arabi here. So do you think we need to bring back kind of a balance between this mystic side and the rational side?
Yeah, 100%. I very well said, Vitor, and I agree, 100%. These things are looked down upon. I do think, look, I understand sometimes, well, everything is susceptible to criticism. And, some criticism is valid, some might be unfair, just like anything in life. And it is true that Sufism too, like we can't deny that Sufism too along the way has become institutionalized.
Yes.
And it has, once again, this power, this like
it overshot. I say like it overshot the mark, like it's just too much, I think.
Yeah, and it's got like, just like anything, it's got corruption, it's got a lot of stuff, power politics, there's a lot of control going on, cultish behavior, weird practices. Sometimes some people, sometimes just weird superstitious stuff going on. Sometimes there's abusive stuff going on. And that's not this, what I'm saying is not exclusive to Sufism, but it's heavily found in a lot of Sufi practices as well, or like the Sufic world. That said, overall, Sufism is clearly a much more loving, softer, compassionate tone and attitude and approach to Islam than, let's say, the other ways, clearly. But sometimes it doesn't necessarily, you can get people who are very harsh and they're still Sufic. So it does happen. To me, I'm very interested. So I do overall, like, I would agree that the more softer, tolerating, compassionate side of Islam is often found amongst Sufis, as opposed to non-Sufis who tend to be more kind of Puritanist and a bit more, like sometimes you will get some that are neither, that they just like, let's say, maybe they're not Sufic, but they might just be very, I don't know, like you might get some very rational, just thinking Muslims who are not very Sufic, but not very harsh either. Like you get Javed Ghamidi and a few maybe like, they might be seen as maybe modern kind of thinkers. You get a lot of them. Sometimes you get some other groups, maybe some political groups that are more politically inclined. They're neither Sufi, neither Salafi. They're not so harsh. But for the most part, I would agree that like if you had to fall in one or the other, the safer option is within the Sufic thing. But to me, I'm very interested in the kind of mystical understanding, the transcendentalism, that kind of mystical approach.
Like the theological side of it, or not
yeah.
even.
Yeah, sure. The theological, but even, like as in by the theological, our approach to the divine being very mystical, being very like how, and the fact that they did this and they put it in writing and they wrote about, like Ibn Arabi, you get many of these
even
that did that.
When you go to the Al-Andalus, like the Spanish, like when they go to Neoplatonism, I think
Yeah.
so interesting, like the emanations and things
100%.
like that.
100%. I think the way they did all of this, it's so like I'm very grateful to them having, having provided later generations with this way of thinking, with this approach, with translating the works, showing the things. You see, to me, this kind of, even this Neoplatonic way, these things predate even Neoplatonism. Like, you're going to find a lot of these thoughts, you'll find them ancient, you'll find them with some pre-Socratic thinkers. You'll find them with Parmenides, for example. You'll find them with, and some people have said that maybe those people were, some people have said maybe they were prophets from God. Allahu A'lam. Like, we don't know. Like, some people have said maybe Socrates was a prophet. Some people have said maybe, because these people are way before Jesus. They're
I
way
do
before.
believe it. For example,
Yeah,
I do
like,
believe
to me, with the stuff I've read about Parmenides, about the state of being, about things like how there was oneness, how he believed in just one divine, how he tried to teach this, how he was divinely inspired in the kind of that cave. Like, I feel that this is very reflective to the way of prophets. So, and his teaching, you see a lot of that, what Ibn Arabi is saying, is there in that, Parmenidean kind of thought. You see it there, which is also what Neoplatonism is kind of mirroring, that same thought. So, yeah, so I do feel this stuff, it's very, like, I love it. I feel that it also, you see, the mystics, they, okay, why is the mystic a problem for people, or a challenge? Because the mystic speaks of this kind of direct experience of the divine, where a lot of people who are going by a certain system don't know where to put that. Like, the traditional scholars sometimes don't know what to do with that, because they're trying to go by a certain system. Now, he or she, what they do is they break away from shackles. So let's say when in the Tabi'een you have great figures like Rabi'a al-Adawiyya, who's a great mystic of Islam. Now, she is known amongst other mystics to say things like that the imagery of hell and heaven are a distraction from God. She will say things like, she would be known to say things like, what, bring me water, I will put out the fire of hell, and bring me fire, I will burn the heaven, because people are not worshipping Allah for the sake of Allah. They're worshipping Allah just because they want a heaven, or they don't want. Like, now, what do you do with this kind of an idea? Because you see, it's not like, is there really anything wrong with that, what this person is saying? But at the same time, it's not what the institutions are used to. So the institutions are building this building block, and this is like a free spirit trying to say, wait a minute, why are you worshipping Allah even for a paradise? Like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you want God? Like, why are you not trying to do this for God himself? Like, you're trying to, it's as if you're just interested. She would say that these people are just interested in toys, that they're not interested in, and now this I find very fascinating, this kind of call towards God for the sake of God. And there's nothing wrong with somebody saying, look, there's nothing wrong in a person saying, I'm only worshipping because of Jannah. But this is a lower order. And
it's just
these things are, like a symbol.
You have to be have a balance between things, because conviction can be just about fear. If you only let's say, if we really have a natural disposition towards God, there must be things that take us to that path easier. And I don't think fear or think about hell is the right way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm not saying, look, everyone is drawn to this mystical approach, and I'm not saying everyone should do this, but to me, I feel it's invaluable that we have this within Islam because, like, to me, I'm sure many people like that. To several people, it is very intriguing. Now, maybe it's not for everyone, and maybe even most people, I don't know. Like, maybe they're just happy with this lower order. That, look, as long as I pray, as long as I'm just interested in heaven, I just want a palace in heaven. I just want this. This is lower order. There's nothing wrong with this.
May I ask you something? For example, in Al-Ghazali's time, how were the Sufis in the mysticism way? Like, people were really mystic?
So I feel that even Sufism, you see, it's not always been welcoming to the mystics. So you'll find that even the true mystics struggled. You see, the mystics are amongst the Sufis, but
I see.
they often they are amongst the Sufis. They're not amongst the other forms. However, their acceptance and opposition is both from the Sufis. So even Ibn Arabi, he is from the Sufis, like he's from that community. However, his people who've heavily criticized, obviously you do get some people like Ibn Taymiyyah and so on being very critical, but even the Sufis will be the people in his lifetime who pose challenges and attacked him and did things like they were. So for example, the people, because they are in that community, they're not in the other communities. So even like, let's say, people like Rumi, like when you're going to see his teacher, like Rumi going on this very mystical journey because of Shams Tabriz is attacked by Sufis, and people say he's killed by Sufis, or whether he was killed or not. So the kind of push and pull is coming from that same community. So you'll get most Sufis will today value the name of Ibn Arabi. However, when it comes to his teachings, many Sufis will say, like, shy away from them, say, oh, no, just ignore his teachings. His Wahdatul Wujud is this, don't talk about it. But there'll be some who will embrace it. And it's the same thing because this is the thing of mystics. Ibn Arabi is from, like, within the Sufi circle, there's another inner circle that's smaller, that is the mystic circle. So not all Sufis are mystical. Now, those that are mystics, they often are challenged by and opposed by some of the Sufis. Like, let's say Hallaj now. He was a great mystic. Now, the person opposing him, or obviously was some of the local politicians, that's politics, and they wanted his death warrant signed. But in the end, they get people like Junaid al-Baghdadi, who's also like from one of the Sufis, to sign his death warrant. And Junaid al-Baghdadi opposes it, because Junaid al-Baghdadi in the end decides to go with a more scientific version of like the tasawwuf, like something that's more just about, well, we're just going to practice and, we're going to do things. We're not going to be as mystical. Because you see, the problem with mystical is nobody knows what to do with it, because it's direct experience with the divine. Like, what do you do with it? Because people like that are rogue. Like, they'll start saying things. Now, okay, they might start saying things that upset people. Now, it might upset politicians. It might upset theologians. It might upset jurists.
But we gotta realize is important for the dialectic inside the religion.
1000%, I agree with you that to keep this dialectic alive is necessary. There is this poem. I was reflecting on it the other day. There's a subcontinent poet, very famous mystic from like the 1800s. His name was Bedam, which means like the one without almost life, like the lifeless, Bedam Varsi. And he had this poem where he's speaking about all of this and symbolage. and he has this this kind of line in his poem where he says manzil maqsood hai kaaba na but khana, that the goal that of my destination, the desired destination, is neither the Kaaba nor the temple. He says, Manzil maqsood hai Kaaba na but khana. That is neither the idol temple. In dono se aage chal e himmat mardana. That, oh, the will of man, traverse both of these, go ahead of both of them. Now, you see, now this to some people might trouble them.
That
To other
sounds like
people,
Nietzsche.
yeah, but what he's trying to say here, because Bedam Varsi is a Muslim and he's a mystic, a Sufi mystic, but what he's trying to say is that both of these, you see, obviously the idol worship is wrong, but he's trying to say even the Kaaba is ultimately, this is a symbol. It is not Allah. This is a symbol. We call it the house of Allah. It's not a physical house where Allah lives. This is a symbol where we can, it's a qibla for the divine. Don't mistake it for the divine itself. That, it's the hadith of the Prophet that he said that even if somebody smashed the Kaaba, the Prophet said in a hadith, that to hurt a believer would be far greater in the eyes of Allah than it would be to destroy the bricks of the Kaaba, because these are just bricks, even if they're very sacred, holy bricks. But the heart of a believer is something that mirrors the divine. So what he's saying in this poetry from one point is almost a shock. Wait a minute. Yeah, he's saying that I don't want to go to the temple. Like he's saying that the goal is not the temple, but he's saying, but by the way, the goal is neither the Kaaba. It's ahead of this, which is Allah himself. That the Kaaba is a means. It's not the goal. The goal is Allah. So now this kind of poetry is iconoclastic. It shatters things. Now, this is why it's very mystical. And once again, it's a wrench, but I agree with you 1000%. It's necessary for that dialectic. So Khair, I hope that's it's Vitor. Shukran for sharing and allowing us to have this communication. And I really honestly, I love the fact that you've joined. What are you ethnically, if you don't mind me asking? Are you Brazilian ethnically, or?
I am full Brazilian, like both sides. I reverted at 27, like 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban.
I was born Catholic.
Yeah, look at that. May Allah fill your life with positivity and blessings, Ameen, and make you a light for his light. I did think you were, converted, but I wasn't sure because, you see, sometimes there can be a resemblance between, let's say, some Arabs and between, like, you can resemble.
If I went
if you said to me you were Lebanese, for example, or you were, like, if you said to me you were Syrian or Lebanese, you actually look very, Syrian as well at the same time. Like, obviously your name gave it away, Vitor. But if you had written like an Arab name there and you said, oh, I'm Syrian or I'm Lebanese, I would believe it 100%. So the similarity
is such a big mix of ethnic backgrounds. So
yeah. Wow. But that's wow, just beautiful, your journey that you've embraced. What interested you in Islam, if you don't mind me asking?
To tell the truth, like I always felt like closeness to the Prophet Jesus, but the church itself and the Bible never never talked to me. And for a long time I was agnostic, like in doubt. about if I believed or not. But the more I've thought about it, more I saw that I did believe in God, but I didn't believe the Bible was it. So it's just a process of studying a lot. Then I went to the early church, the Gnostics, like they say you probably know the story about they say they reject the Old Testament. And then I got to the Quran and it just made more sense to me. I read the life of the Prophet and things like that, little by little.
Allah bless you, Vitor, honestly. Yeah, well, I'm really glad you did tune in, and I'm even gladder and happier that you came live and got to share just your presence with us. That's, at the end of the day, it's just the company. That's what it is. That there's, I cite this often from that, those kind of, it's like image stories of the boy and the panda, where he says, where he asks the panda that what is more important, is it the journey or the destination? And he says, the panda replies, it's the company. And I feel that that is truly the meaning, one of the, a powerful meaning of life. It is the company. So shukran for sharing that with us today.
Thank you also. Like there's not a big community of Muslims here, so sometimes conversations like this give a lot of insight and things like that.
Absolutely. Shukran, and stay connected. Drop me a message on Instagram. I'll look out for it and I'll be connected. Right, Victor, shukran once again. Allah bless you.
Bye-bye.
And have a very good night or evening. People, that was Vitor from Brazil. Wow, we've had such a, honestly, such a blessed mixture of people from all over the world, just reflecting the colorful beauty of this ummah. May Allah bless you all. People, wherever you are, may Allah keep you all smiling. May He keep you all radiant. May He replace any challenges, any sorrow with joy. May He allow you to deepen your grasp of meaning from this life. Ameen. And to really be a mirror for His nur, for His radiance, to mirror the beautiful names of Allah in this dunya. Ameen. Just remember that wherever you are, smile, inshallah. And those of you who want to connect, you're more than welcome to reach out, connect, subscribe to my YouTube, of course. Yeah, I love seeing that, and leave comments. I do read the comments. So Allah bless you all. If you want to, and on Instagram, connect with me. You can follow and drop me a message. Introduce yourself. I always find it odd that people who, like when they connect, they don't really introduce themselves or they don't really tell me anything about them. And maybe they sometimes are feeling shy but I find a lot of meaning in learning about you, because otherwise I don't really know anything about you, and you're just a name, which means very little. So yeah. And is somebody saying, is that my age? 47? I'm 47, gonna be probably 48. Yeah, aging away on this journey we call life. But yeah, old man, yeah, with wisdom, inshallah, hopefully coming through. So yeah, and yeah, if you want to connect, definitely on Instagram as well. Other than that, if you Patreon, if you want one-to-one consultations, definitely head over to my Patreon, and there you can see it there, patreon.com/MALM. You can subscribe to the one-to-one consultations, which also add you onto the Discord, but you do have an option just to join Discord, or you can have the one-to-one sessions on the Discord. Yeah, we do also have the group sessions. which are just for Discord members. They're not otherwise, you know. And other than that, and if you have the one-to-one, of course, that's tailored to whatever your needs are. Right. Other than that, Allah keep you blessed. Have a very good day wherever you are. Take incredible care of yourselves and keep smiling. Allah bless you with abundant happiness. Wassalamu alaikum wa khuda hafiz.